Hey anime lovers! Welcome back to the channel. If you're into magical worlds, overpowered protagonists, and let's be honest, a whole lot of waifus, then you're in the right place. Today we're diving into the top 10 Isekai harem anime that you need to check out. Let's get transported. 10. Isekai Cheat Magician. Regular high schooler Taichi Nishimura and his childhood friend, Rinazuma, are on their way to school one ordinary morning. Suddenly, a glowing light envelopes them, transporting them to a fantasy world full of magical creatures. Upon their arrival, Taichi and Rin are threatened by a beast. They are promptly saved by a group of adventurers who advise the pair that traveling unarmed and inexperienced makes them vulnerable to the recently increasing monster attacks. Taichi and Rin are directed to the guild where they can determine their magical aptitude and register as adventurers. However, the test they take reveals an unprecedented result. Taichi and Rin possess extraordinary powers that far surpass the standard mage, instantly transforming them from typical high school students to the ultimate cheat magicians. Taichi and Rin learn to grasp the full extent of their powers and familiarize themselves with their new world. However, while the duo seeks to uncover the reason behind their transportation and a possible way back to their original world, unexpected trouble lurks in the shadows. 9. Gate. Off-duty Japan Self-Defense Forces JSDF officer and otaku Yuji Itami is on his way to attend a doujin convention in Ginza, Tokyo when a mysterious portal in the shape of a large gate suddenly appears. From this gate, supernatural creatures and warriors clad in medieval armor emerge, charging through the city, killing and destroying everything in their path. With swift actions, Yuji saves as many lives as he can while the rest of the JSDF direct their efforts towards stopping the invasion. 3 months after the attack, Yuji has been tasked with leading a special recon team as part of a JSDF task force that will be sent to the world beyond the gate, now being referred to as the Special Region. They must travel into this unknown world in order to learn more about what they are dealing with and attempt to befriend the locals in hopes of creating peaceful ties with the ruling empire. But if they fail, they face the consequence of participating in a devastating war that will engulf both sides of the gate. 8. How a realist hero rebuild the kingdom. After the death of his grandfather, 19-year-old Kazuya Soma, an aspiring civil servant, is left all alone with no one to call family. Out of the blue, he is transported to the Elfrieden Kingdom, a small, ailing country in another world, to be a hero. An ongoing war with the demon army has put the entire world in peril, and Kazuya was summoned to aid in the conflict as an offering from Elfrieden to its allies. Dissatisfied with being used as tribute, Kazuya decides to help the kingdom revamp its declining economy, not by way of adventuring or war, but through administrative reform. Abruptly declared the king of Elfrieden and betrothed to the princess, the realist hero Kazuya sets out to assemble a group of talented citizens who will assist him in his bureaucratic battles to get the kingdom back on its feet. 7. Farming life in another world. During the final years of his life, Hiraka Machio remained confined to a hospital bed with a terminal illness until he finally passed away. Taking pity on the unfair life he lived, a god decides to reincarnate Hiraku in another world where he can live as he pleases. Wanting to try farming in this new life, he is bestowed with an all-in-one, almighty farming tool that can transform into any useful implement he wishes. Hiraka is then transported to a forest seemingly far from civilization. Here, he plans to build and farm everything from scratch, gradually developing the lifeless area into a thriving new society. 6. Champion. The gods of the world are not myths or legends. They exist, unbeknownst to humans, fighting their battles and laying waste to land and life. People perceive the fights of such heretic gods as inexplicable natural disasters they cannot escape. 16-year-old high school student Gata Kusanagi travels to Italy at the request of his grandfather to return a particular tablet to an acquaintance for safekeeping. Gata does not expect to get drawn into a battle between two heretic gods alongside Erika Blandelli, a self-proclaimed witch fighting to protect people. Fortunately, he manages to defeat the god of war in mortal combat and becomes a campione or godslayer whose duty is to fight heretic gods to save humanity. Gata's new status as a campione attracts a bevy of gods who wish to challenge him and a band of devout followers, mostly women, who are willing to aid him in his battles. Campione, Matsura Wanakamagami to Kamigoroshi no Mao follows Gata as he tackles dueling deities in a conflict between heaven and earth. 5. Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Ikaru Suzuki, a programmer nearing his 30s, is drowning in work. Worn out, he eventually has a chance to catch up on sleep, only to wake up and discover himself in a fantasy RPG world which is mashed together from the games he was debugging in reality. In this new place, he realizes that not only has his appearance changed to a younger version of himself, but his name has also changed to Satu, a nickname he used while running beta tests on games. However, before Sada can fully grasp his situation, an army of lizardmen launch an assault on him. Forced to cast a powerful spell in retaliation, Sada wipes them out completely and his level is boosted to 310, effectively maximizing his stats. Now, as a high-leveled adventurer armed with a plethora of skills and no way to return to reality, Sada sets out to explore this magical new world. 4. The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventurer. On his way to a convenience store, Kazuya Shina tries to defend two young girls from an armed assailant only to end up getting stabbed himself and dying on the spot. This good deed allows him to be reborn with all his memories in another world as Cain von Silford, the third son of a Margrave. When Cain turns 5, a baptismal ceremony in the church grants him an audience to the 7 gods who preside over the world. Not only do the gods fill him in on the circumstances of his reincarnation, but they also give Cain their respective divine protections, allowing him to use cheat-like abilities in swordsmanship, magic, and many other aspects. With these blessings, Cain sets out to live a fulfilling life that he deems a dream come true. However, it soon becomes clear that the gods have more plans for him than just a haphazard bestowal of overwhelming power. 3. Arifureta. The ordinary life of 17-year-old otaku Hajime Nagumo is disrupted when he and his classmates are summoned to a fantasy world and tasked with saving mankind. While his classmates are gifted with impressive abilities useful in combat, Hajime is belittled for only gaining an inferior transmutation skill that lacks any real offensive power. During an expedition in the Great Orcus Labyrinth, Hajime is betrayed by one of his classmates, plummeting him to the bottom of an abyss. Though he survives the fall, Hajime is faced with menacing monsters and misfortunes that send him spiraling into a grim nightmare. Desperate to live and return home one day, he resolves to fight for his survival only to meet an imprisoned vampire he names Yu, who is also seeking to escape the labyrinth. Taking an interest in him, Yu and a few others along the way accompany Hajime on his journey to find a way back home while steadily transforming from commonplace to the world's strongest. 2. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. When it comes to the fantasy MMORPG Cross Reverie, none can match the power of the Demon King Diablo. Possessing the game's rarest artifacts and an unrivaled player level, he overpowers all foolish enough to confront him. But despite his fearsome reputation, Diablo's true identity is Takuma Sakamoto, a shut-in gamer devoid of any social skills. Defeating hopeless challengers day by day, Takuma cares about nothing else but his virtual life, that is, until a summoning spell suddenly transports him to another world where he has Diablo's appearance. In this new world resembling his favorite game, Takuma is greeted by the 2 girls who summoned him, Rem Galeu, a petite Pantherian adventurer, and Shara L. Greenwood, a busty elf summoner. They perform an enslavement ritual in an attempt to subjugate him, but the spell backfires and causes them to become his slaves instead. With the situation now becoming more awkward than ever, Takuma decides to accompany the girls in finding a way to unbind their contract while learning to adapt to his new existence as the menacing Demon King. 1. Tsukimiki Moonlit Fantasy. As part of a mysterious contract agreed upon by a goddess and his parents years ago, Makoto Misumi finds himself sent to another world to meet the goddess and become the hero. However, the deity deems Makoto to be hideous, refusing to even lay eyes upon him and revokes his heroic title. Disdainfully giving him the ability to understand all languages except the human language as compensation, the goddess drives Makoto off to the farthest edges of the wasteland, far from human civilization. Due to the disparity between Earth and this new world, Makoto's inherent physical and magical capabilities awaken, making him extremely powerful. He meets various demi-humans and mythical beings who all end up being captivated with his characteristics and join Makoto in building a new community where all of them can peacefully coexist. Nevertheless, despite this success, Makoto still yearns to meet fellow humans. In a world where the goddess herself has barred him from interacting with his kind, it is up to Makoto and his companions to fulfill his desire and perhaps reform society along the way. And that wraps up our top 10 Isekai Harem anime. Which one's your favorite? Did we miss any gems? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more anime content every week.